Welcome to the August 2022 committee meetings of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that Council is now web streaming its standing committee meetings and council meetings live to the internet, and as such all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the August 2022 Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting, the time being 5:33. First item is item IPC 22/33, leave of absence. The first item of business is apologies. I've received an apology from Councillor Wright, Councillor Mahon and Councillor Burns. Can I please have someone to move that the apologies of Councillor Wright, Mahon and Burns be accepted? Councillor Etheridge, and seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item IPC 22/34 is conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? I don't think there was. I'll move right along. There being none. Item IPC 22/35, building summary, July 2022. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Director, Development and Environment? Councillor Etheridge, and seconded by Councillor Ivey. Any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. Item IPC 22/36, Resource Recovery and Efficiency, Community Recycling Centre Operations Deed. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Manager, Resource Recovery and Efficiency, Councillor Chowdhury, and seconded by Councillor Wells? Thank you. Any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. The next item is IPC 22/37, Draft Planning Proposal Policy. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Team Leader Growth Planning Projects? Moved Councillor Goff, seconded Councillor Etheridge there. Thank you. Any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. Item IPC 22/38, Proposed Horse Warning Signs, Merrily Road, Dubbo. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Senior Traffic Engineer? Moved Councillor Wells, seconded Councillor Dickerson. Any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. There are no further items for consideration of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 5:36 p.m.
I now open the August 2022 Culture and Community Committee meeting. Item CCC 22/33, leave of absence. The first item of business is apologies. I have received an apology from Councillor Wright, Councillor Mahon and Councillor Burns. Can I please have someone move the apology for Councillors Wright, Mahon and Burns be accepted? Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Wells. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? All those against? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 22/34, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? Nope. Moving on. Item CCC 22/35, report of the Aquatic Working Party meeting on the 25th of July 2022. Can I please have someone move the report of the Aquatics Working Party be noted? Moved by Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? All those against? I declare the motion carried. Just a change in the agenda. So item CCC 22/37 is the Spark Dubbo Regional Council Cultural Plan 2-year update. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Cultural Development Coordinator? Moved by Councillor Dickerson, seconded by Councillor Wells. We now have a presentation from the Cultural Development Coordinator regarding this item.
Good evening, everybody. So tonight I'm just going to give a presentation in relation to the report, providing a bit of a background to Spark and where we'd like to move in the next couple of months with the plan. So just to give you some background, Spark is, see if this works. Yay. Spark is our cultural plan that we developed in 2020. It came about as a result of an awareness that Wellington Council, as was, did not have a cultural plan, and Dubbo City Council, as was, had a cultural plan that was last adopted in 2008 and therefore had been largely inactive. With the organisational restructure that happened in 2019, the creation of the cultural development team allowed for us to holistically and strategically review how we delivered culture. And the first priority for that was to develop a cultural plan. To develop that plan, we went through 2.5 months of consultation across the region. We had more than 200 people directly contribute to the creation of this plan. We held a number of community consultation sessions in Dubbo, in Wongarbin, in Geary and in Wellington. And it was a very robust and considered consultation process that we think accurately represented where the community's feelings were about culture. So the community told us what their definition of culture was, which became the foundation of the cultural plan. One of the things to note was the community was very overt in saying that culture was not something that was exclusive to facilities. It was something that you experience and interact with every day. It is part of the fabric of people's daily lives and is not bound just by the four walls of a gallery or a theatre or a library. So from all of that consultation, we developed the Spark plan. The community gave us 6 different values that they had for how they would like culture developed and presented over the next 5 years. From that, we developed a number of strategies, 22, and over 190 actions in support of those values. So it's a very broad and very comprehensive plan. To give you an example of how the values led to strategies and led to actions, I've included just one example in here for your reference. The cultural plan addresses not just access to culture, but encouraging participation, encouraging economic opportunities, encouraging tourism opportunities. So it sees culture as something that is fundamental to the running of our region as a whole. For your information and for the public watching at home, the Spark Cultural Plan is available online through the DRC website. It's downloadable and the public can access that at any time for their reference. So the plan aimed to highlight not only Council's significant and ongoing investment in cultural facilities, cultural infrastructure, but their ongoing and significant investment in cultural activation through events, through community funding. The other element that the cultural plan aimed to look at was how it could encourage facilitation between community groups, between stakeholders outside of council, and to embolden and encourage community groups to develop and lead their own cultural programmings outside of a council-led initiative. We feel that this approach will lead to greater diversity, greater ownership, and a community up approach to culture rather than a council down approach to culture. So in encouraging that community facilitation, one of the ways that we do this is that we support cultural groups, community groups, creatives in our region to develop their own programming. We do that through a partnership program in which we provide funding for them to develop and manage their own events. This is a listing of some of the many groups that we have given funding to support their activities, which in turn support the outcomes of the cultural plan. One group I would like to draw particular attention to, just to show you the breadth of what we do with the cultural plan, is the Dubbo Neighbourhood Centre. We have provided funding to them to support their New Migrants Women's Group, so that those women could come together in a safe, supportive environment and share some of their stories and begin to connect as a community in their new home of Dubbo. So we see culture as a major role, has a major role to play in welcoming new members to our community, making them feel welcome, allowing them to share in the growth of our community. For For your information as well, there are early indications this year that the number of partnerships we will look to develop will be increasing. Based off the inquiries I've had so far, there are more and more groups who see this as an opportunity and would like to participate in cultural development opportunities across our region. The other aspect of Spark that I will draw attention to is the fact that the operations of the Dubbo Regional Council managed facilities, their daily programming, their daily event development is the primary way in which Spark is actioned. The diversity of facilities and the wide breadth of programming that they undertake provides addresses a great number of the Spark outcomes. So Council has invested very heavily through these facilities and the teams who manage them to ensure that the cultural output that we present is high and of a very high quality. Just for your information, this is just a sample of, just in the last 18 months, some of the programs led by and presented by council facilities that support Spark. There's 3 in this slide that I particularly would like to draw your attention to. On the bottom left-hand corner, our Mini Makers program is an under 5s art program for members of the community to come together and sing and create artworks for children under 5. It's a great way to socialise children into the arts, and it's a great community building tool. It's a free program that we offer, and this year we've expanded that to run in Wellington as well as Dubbo. Just above that, you'll see an image of a house lit within. That's an example of the high reputation that Dubbo has, in which we were approached directly by internationally renowned artist Tracy Moffat to help support her developer work in our region. Tracy has represented Australia internationally and is one of the most important artists working in Australia at the moment, and she directly reached out to our team to help work with her on the realisation of this project because of the high reputation of the team and of council and our support for innovative cultural product. The third one I'd like to draw your attention to is on the top. There's an image of the inside of the Dubbo Regional Museum. When we went into lockdown exactly today, a year ago, the cultural development team pivoted to ensure that the public could still access our resources, and we created a virtual walk-through museum. We had that up and live within a few weeks of lockdown, so we were able to ensure that the public, schools, educators, families still had access to as much of the facilities as we could provide. In terms of resourcing, each year, the Spark Cultural Plan has been allocated $100,000 to provide funding to enact those 190 different actions. We don't do those every year. We've staged them over a number of years to ensure strategically we can resource them. Over the next 2 years, we have also allocated some additional specific funding to support key strategies within that plan. Most notably, the development of a strategy to support Dubbo as a music city, a strategy to develop a plan for a cultural precinct in the region, and thirdly, a strategy to create Dubbo as a film centre, so a place to attract film productions, infrastructure in our region, all of which will have not only major cultural impacts but also major economic benefits for the region. In terms of funding, so we were lucky enough to secure 3-year funding from Create New South Wales to support the cultural plan. We received $268,000 for a 3-year plan, which is about $89,000 per year. Just for councillors' information, that was the second highest allocation of funding in New South Wales, which again is testament to the reputation of council and the quality of the strategic plan, that we aligned it to state government initiatives, and therefore were able to best demonstrate how, through our cultural plan, we were supporting sort of the state-led initiatives around cultural production. That funding will run out into 2023, but we will be putting in another application at the end of that plan to again get that forward funding from Create. We have a very strong reputation within Create New South Wales for the quality of our cultural productions, and we're very confident that strategically, because we align with state government initiatives, that we will be very successful in securing that funding again, if not more funding. That's always the goal. But because we have a very clear long-term strategic plan for culture, it's very easy to explain how that supports state government initiatives. Moving forward, so one of the elements of the report that I've presented is a review that we would like to do at the end of this year on the cultural plan. We'd like to recognise the changes that have happened to Council in the last 12 months and review the cultural plan to ensure that it aligns strongly with the community strategic plan, the new committees of Council and the revised budget forecasts for Council, so that we can adequately resource the plan in the next few years. We'd also like to respond to the fact that the first 2 years of the cultural plan we lost up to 12 months of active ability to present because of COVID, both lockdowns and restrictions on gathering that prevented a number of events from happening. So all of these factors have come to play that we think it's timely to review the plan and reevaluate where it needs to go in the future. So two of the main considerations for that review will be potentially, and it will be a result of the review in terms of what we present to Council, dividing the plan into a strategic plan and an action plan, similarly to how the community strategic plan is developed. And secondly, potentially looking at extending the time frame of the cultural plan to account for the fact that the 2025 original plan for the cultural plan has been compromised because of COVID and the impact to programming. So we will do that review internally and with consultation through the Spark Committee of Council and come back to Council with a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Moore. I just want to pass it through the CEO.
A wonderful presentation by Ms Moore. I think she underplayed. We weren't lucky that we got the second highest grant from the New South Wales Government to do the cultural plan. It was the professional and good work by the team, led by Natasha at the time and led by Ms Moore as well. So I just want to call out, it wasn't like Jess, it was the professionalism that you brought to the challenge as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions or debate? Councillor Ivey.
No, it's a committee.
I thought that was very interesting. I just noticed in the budget, as you say, we've got the grant, the $89,000 over the next 3 years, but in the budget we've also allocated an ongoing expense of $100,000 for the next 2 years and then ongoing. Yeah. That's at this stage a commitment of Council, and is there perhaps an expectation that may be offset by further government grant funding?
Ms Moore. Through the CEO, Ms Moore.
Ms Moore.
Yes, I think we certainly are always looking for funding to offset Council's costs. The structure of state government funding around culture is generally one go, one pool, but we often are finding funding through destination, through economic development, through other streams beyond Create to offset the funding, and it's certainly always a priority for us to find additional funding to offset the cost to Council.
Any other questions or debate? Councillor Wells.
Look, I agree the presentation was really interesting. Thank you very much, Jess. I'm just a query on you said that it's taken some time with the COVID impact and therefore we weren't able to deliver some specific activities. Mm-hmm. Is that, does DRC have the opportunity to then roll those funds into the next 2 years, 2 and 3?
For unspent funding, no. You've adopted an annual budget. Typically savings, staff may ask as part of the developing of the new budget, things may roll over. Typically they're capital works as opposed to operating costs. So
in relation to the Create funding that was provided.
I might throw to Ms. Coonan, who was present at the time, or Jamie across the...
Any grant funding we will roll over if it's grant funding, but normal operational funds, it's just given consideration.
Any other questions or debate? All those in favour? All those against? I declare the motion carried. Moving back to CCC 22/36, the Macquarie River Master Plan, North and... Sorry. Yes. Did I not say that?
You were getting...
I declared the motion carried. Back to item CCC 22/36.
Just jump in. You're the chair, you can read it out of this station.
Macquarie River Master Plan North and South Precinct, update on community consultation. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Second by Councillor Chowdhury. Any questions or debate? Councillor Black has an amendment.
He so chooses.
Councillor Black.
Madam Chair, I've got an amendment to move.
Thank you.
My amendment reads, it's 4 points. One, that the concerns by the community about the proposal by St John's Junior Rugby League Football Club to build 8 sporting fields in Regan Park be noted. 2, that the proposal by St John's Junior Rugby League Football Club to secure in-principle support of council to gift land required in Regan Park to then be noted. 3, that the grant monies obtained by St John's Junior Rugby League Football Club to develop sporting fields and other facilities be noted. And 4, that the CEO provide a report to the September ordinary meeting of council detailing all formal contact between proponents of the sporting facility proposal, St John's Junior League Football Club, and Dubbo Regional Council, including the dates of meetings and a proper summary of what was discussed, and attaching all documents that have been provided by the proponents to Dubbo Regional Council or associated documents generated by Dubbo Regional Council and any plans, diagrams, images, overlays of possible layouts of the sporting fields shown to or developed by Dubbo Regional Council staff, including those shown to councillors.
May I have someone second that? Councillor Etheridge. Would you like to speak to your amendment?
Thank you, I would, Madam Chair. People being told to participate in the existing process and in effect hold their fire until the outcome in November, when the draft is produced, the draft master plan then engage them. I think that in the context of full transparency around council's alternative dealings, if any, with the proponent before the master planning process or whenever, would be useful. There could be no harm in the report accurately detailing everything from original meetings with the proponents back in February or before 2021 through to now. Anything that they've provided to council, including all diagrams or images, overlays of their 8-field proposal, up to 8 fields. The details of the current council meetings, current council's meetings with the proponents and current master plan process, putting all that in the public domain would create greater confidence in the processes for the whole community. So this amendment is important for transparency and public confidence because the proponent's proposal is actively being considered as part of the master planning process. This is a resolution of the previous council. A comment made to me was that there appears to be a parallel process underway where the community is told to keep their powder dry and wait until November to comment on the draft, whilst the proponent, we know from at least February 2021, has been meeting with council and lobbying council in an effort to rightfully advance their proposal. The amendment will hopefully reassure the community that the master plan process is the only process underway and also shed some light on what 8 sporting fields and associated structures at Regal Park may look like. The community is engaged strongly with the consultation process, and I encourage them to continue that around the River Corridor Master Plan. So the St John's Football Club have $1 million in government grant money. They secured in-principle support of welcoming the proposal from the last council. They continued to lobby and advance their proposal, which is within their right. I encourage them to do so if they wish. But the community is also entitled to lobby in any way they wish. They lobby councillors, engage with the master plan process, and I really do encourage everyone in the community to do that that's interested in the whole north-south precinct of the river corridor. Council obviously will keep an open mind and will use the processes as it should be done. That's a great thing. But other parts of the community, skip that bit. This amendment will dispel some fears and create common understanding within the community of what's transpired so far and where the whole proposal may be up to with regards to 8 sporting fields at Regan Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other questions or debate on the amendment? Councillor Ivey?
I'd like to speak against the amendment. I appreciate what Councillor Black is saying, but I would like to register my great disappointment in some ways in that I was elected to this council and I consider myself to be a fairly independent, clear-thinking, objective person who is looking at this Regan Park or the development plan, the strategic plan, in a very independent fashion. I'm certainly not any party whatsoever. I don't know anything about St John's Rugby League proposal. I don't want to know anything about it. It will be put through, if they want to make a proposal, they will put it through the channel that we voted on at this first meeting, with my first council meeting in January, which said that anything to do with that development that had been considered by council was now off the table. It was now a blank canvas, that we were going back to the original strategic master plan to further develop that. We then appointed consultants, independent consultants and environmentalists to look at the proposal, and that they would consult with the community, including, I presume, anyone who wants to build rugby league fields there, including anyone who wants to turn the whole area into an arboretum. May well be a very good proposal to do. That we've put in place a process where that can happen, that will then come back to this council as a revised master plan, and we will then consider it and vote on it. And that's what I intend to do. And I do not need, Councillor Black, I do not need that amendment to make my opinion count. Thank you.
Any other questions or debate on the amendment? Mayor Dickinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm agreeing with Councillor Ivey here. I think the process as it stands is a very open, transparent process. I think there's a couple of issues with it. For the start, when I look back at the February meeting of council last year, February 21, before this group of councillors were elected, the only reference to playing fields talks about 4 full-size playing fields. The amendment talks about the proposal by St John's to have 8 sporting fields. So I think there's an error there, because I don't know of any proposal by St John's to have 8 sporting fields. So I think there's actually an error in the amendment, Madam Chair, in relation to that. So that renders part of the amendment not even a valid amendment. And then, again, that's going back to the council papers from last year. And then when we look at the council papers from last year, it talks about the fact there was a verbal proposal and an email was received, and very little information was in there. I'm not aware of any plans from last year, but I wasn't on council last year. Go forward to this year, I think this council took a very positive move in relation to Regan Park and said, everything's off the table, let's give a blank sheet of paper to consultants. And exactly as Councillor Ivey said, then that's the process we're going through. And anything that we do with this amendment, I believe, undermines that entire consultancy process. If we're going to do this amendment, and target St John's, then I think, to be fair, what we should be doing is targeting every group. Now, I've had disc golf talk to me about the new Regan Park area. I went down to the International Women's Championships there at disc golf, and they said, gee, we'd like more area for our disc golf. Maybe the new Regan Park area would be a great area for disc golf. So we want all discussions with the disc golf group. I've had people who have exercise equipment along Track O'Reilly Cycleway, and they say, gee, it'd be great to have some extra exercise equipment. Do we have the proponents for exercise equipment there? We've had environmental groups who have approached us. Do we have the proponents of environmental groups to get all those discussions? It seems to me, if you give a consultant a job, let them do their job. If we go down the process of saying we're going to target one particular proponent, then that seems incredibly unfair to that one in an open, transparent consultancy process. Surely then the added or foreshadowed amendment, if you like, would be that every proponent that has approached any councillor about anything on Regan Park from February 2021 till August 2022, we want to know about all of those discussions and every component of that. Now, I'm being a little bit facetious there, because that would be ridiculous to ask for that, because there would be so much paperwork, and already I think this is wasting the time of our staff to go and gather all this information for effectively a process that is well and truly underway. And after all of that, one of the components that Councillor Black talked about was making sure that there's no parallel process at play. Well, I'm not aware of any parallel process, but this doesn't stop any parallel process. If there's a secret hidden agenda that we don't know about that is somehow being undertaken at council, well, this doesn't expose any parallel process. This just says, show us those discussions, show us the dates and meetings of things, but if there's a secret process, then it's still going to be secret. And again, I'm a little bit offended by the community inferring that there is some sort of secret process. That really questions the credibility of all the councillors sitting around the table here. It questions the credibility of our professional staff who are out there undertaking their roles as staff members in this community under the policy and direction of councillors. So there's really a question mark there from the community when they're talking about it, questioning that integrity and transparency and openness of this council. Now, again, I'm not making any reflection upon the previous council. The previous council moved this amendment, and I didn't agree with it at the time because there was no consultation process in that. We fixed that. We're going down this process, and I commend the director on the report that was brought to council to give the community an update. And part of the reason for that update was just to let the community know where that whole process was up to. So I commend the director on that, because it does give a very good overview, and it also shows quite clearly, if I jump to page 14, it shows quite clearly that we're not even halfway through the consultation process. So if ever I've seen a case of the cart being before the horse, this amendment, sorry Councillor Black, but this amendment really to me is putting the cart before the horse in terms of the process that we're going through. And I think that's what it's all about here. It's about the process. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Dickerson. Okay. Any other comments or debate? Councillor Wells?
Look, I want to make a comment in relation to what I've heard so far from my colleagues, the other three councillors. And I think for me, the chatter in the community on social media and across, I think for me it's around ensuring that the community perception is that we are there for them, and that's we're their voice. And based on that, whilst I have a look at this, and I do understand that it seems to be all focused on Junior Rugby League, and there are other aspects, it's about us being transparent to Dubbo Regional community, and for that reason, that I support this process.
Councillor Chowdhury?
Yeah,
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm against this amendment because I think council and doing an independent way to do this consultation, and when consultation will finish, it will come all this option to the councillors in front of the councillor, and then we can take the decision. And after that gonna go to public consultation and everything online, and council is doing their best to put on the public every option. So I'm not aware of any hidden agenda, but also I don't want to undermine council doing this consultation, and my colleagues, I don't want to undermine them, so I'm against this amendment. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other discussion or debate on the amendment? Would you like a right of reply?
Oh, yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, sorry, I have a right reply, Madam Chair. Point of order.
Yep.
As the original mover of the original motion, the original mover of the motion gets the right of reply, not the mover of the amendment.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's good. So you agree with my point of order?
Yes.
Sorry, and the right of reply, and really replying to just to some of those things, and again, it's about the various components of the debate there, and really I think from Councillor Wells' perspective, I understand that there is a really good process out there where I think there is confidence in the community, but again, I don't think this amendment does anything to actually help that confidence. In fact, in some ways it might undermine that confidence, because it says that there is something going on untoward or behind the scenes We've got a process that we started, and I believe we should follow that process, which is a good, open, transparent process. And this report, again, the directors put forward is excellent, and the update from the architects is fantastic as well, showing some of the processes that have occurred already and showing the future direction of that. I really just think that this amendment, if this goes through, can possibly undermine all the good work that we've done already in the first 7 months we've been on council. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Dickerson. You're throwing me out of whack.
So now you put the amendment
All right, all those in favour
of the amendment.
of the amendment? All those against? Okay, I'll declare the amendment carried. The amendment has now become the motion. Any debate or comments? Mayor Dickerson?
No, I'll leave it for 2 weeks' time, thanks.
Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate the comments I made in speaking against the amendment. I think now the motion is that implicit in that motion is that I, as a councillor, and therefore I extend that to my other councillors, aren't capable of making an independent and unbiased and uninfluenced decision on the future of this area. I find that, in some ways, to be quite honest, I find that offensive. I think that as I said before, I'm an independent thinker. I'm quite capable of making a decision based upon facts that are put before me. And if one sector wants to make a submission, all well and good. If another sector wants to make a submission, all well and good. But to say that something that happened 2 years ago should be put on the cards, put on the table, so that that the community will therefore know that I'm independent, I find that objectionable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't feel that this amendment in any way, or most people I've spoken to actually don't question the integrity of councillors here, and that's certainly not the intention of what's now become the motion, the amendment that's become the motion. I think it'd be wrong to look at it like that and misunderstood. The fact of the matter is there is an active proposal still there with $1 million grant from a sporting club who want exclusive use of major public parkland. The people in the community have not seen possible drawings, overlays, maps, layouts, plans of what is proposed. The 8 fields was said by the leader of the organisation proposing the sporting complex was on the front of the photo news the other week. That's where the 8 fields comes from, virtually direct from the horse's mouth, you could say. But as I said, we as a council obviously have an open mind in the process, but it'd be a height of arrogance, I guess. The community understands that processes don't just happen, decisions don't just happen within a process. There's often the community, rightly or wrongly, sees that in its own wisdom, that there are other ways to skin a cat, and they understand how power works and decisions are often really made. Some of the community, rightly or wrongly, may smell a rat, and this should hopefully dispel any fears that they have and concerns around that, and that this council is being completely transparent about prior proposals at Regan Park. Other parts of the community simply get the fact that it would be ridiculous to suggest decisions are only made within the parameters often in society. They've seen Parliament parameters of a consultant's report. Some members of the community are genuinely fearful that opinions are now being shaped or may have already even been impacted. We've got the process underway, and I encourage everyone to stick to that process. So people are being active and they're pushing their agenda in the community, and I'd encourage them, which is their right, and I'd also encourage them to engage with the consultants and the process and their councillors. It would be to misunderstand how civil society and democracy works to somehow attack activists and say that they're acting illegitimately or anything of that nature, I feel. But this amendment should dispel some, or now motion should dispel some fears and create common understanding amongst the whole community of what's transpired so far, where we're up to, what the proposal and the $1 million that could be spent actually looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Mayor Dickerson.
A question to Madam Chair. So if this report comes back to September, I'm interested in when potentially the first draft plans for the consultancy might come back to council. I'm not sure if we've got an exact timeline on when those first draft plans might be coming back.
Through you, Madam Chair, in the report on page 13, it talks about, so there will be conceptual plans that are put to, if I look there, to community after September. So there'll be a workshop with councils in September on a draft concept master plan. Then that draft concept will be taken out further to the community. I should add, that's after we are currently about to open up, if not already, a website for general community feedback now, again, to build the draft concept. The draft concept comes to a council workshop. This is all on page 14 of the report. Then there'll be community engagement program with workshops, pop-ups and barbecues, what have you, with a final draft, and the author, Mr McAllister, has got in here potentially late November or early 2023, just depending on how things roll.
So, sorry, to you, Madam Chair. So we're talking about the report is the draft concept master plan to be presented to a council workshop in September. Correct. So do we think that will come back to council, the council meeting in September as well?
No, because I guess it's a consultation with councillors, which is then introduces the draft concept master plan prior to it going out for open consultation. And I guess different to a website feedback, it's actually targeting, much like if I think you might be the only one there, Mr Mayor, at the time, the original Regan Park master plan, where you go to where the people are that are using the river foreshore and the river area. So that's what's referenced on page 14 about the open community engagement program with a draft concept. And what we find, if you need to have a broad brush open process. What helps people crystallise their thinking and their critique is if you have a draft concept, or we've found over time, is that really helps people consolidate their ideas. Then the results of that next tranche of consultation, the concept informs a draft master plan that comes to council for then adoption for the purposes of going back out for public consultation.
Thank you. So my point there was just assuming that it wasn't going to get back to September in terms of that plan. So this report comes back to September. At some point later, there'll be some draft plans that'll be then out in the public arena. And so I really have concerns. I know Councillor Black says that this will dispel fears, but we had some examples in the community where there were people in the community who were telling everyone, all and sundry, that there was rezoning that had occurred at the Regan Park area, and that rezoning had to be fixed by this council. The standard we walked past was the standard we accepted, and that line kept being pushed, but no rezoning had occurred. So I'm not convinced, Councillor Black, that this will dispel any fears, because there seems to be a process of misinformation in the community, and that's disappointing. And that process of disinformation out there, I don't think will be solved by having a report that says that the only way that will be solved will be when the plans, the draft concept plans, finally arrive at council. That's when people will be able to see what the master plans look like. And if those master plans turn up and they've got 4 playing fields for St John's in there, then they can then start lobbying and saying, save Regan Park. But at the moment, to have community members out there saying, save Regan Park, I find a little bit offensive, because I'm not sure what they're saving it from. I'm not sure what Regan Park needs to be saved from. So I'm not convinced that whatever's in that report, good, bad or indifferent, and I have no idea what will be in that report. I wasn't on council February last year. I have no idea what was in there, but I have no idea what will be in there that will dispel fears or change opinions or stop misinformation. Again, the final solution will be when we finally get those draft master plans, in my opinion.
I'm just going to throw through to the CEO.
So what I just had a quick discussion with staff. So that stage, again on page 14, we say draft concept master plan. It's probably more accurate to say draft concept master plans, sort of 3 different ideas of what the master plans could look like. Now we haven't, that is to be a workshop. There's nothing preventing us, and indeed with the amendment being passed with another report about Regan Park going in September, I'd suggest it would be a good idea, and if you don't amend the motion, I'll do it anyway, it's an operational thing. I'll bring those draft concepts that we're going to put in the workshop to council at that same time. Just again, picking up the vibe here that more is better. So you have my commitment, unless you wanted to make that as an amendment to make that a formal resolution. You don't have to, but that'll be our action we take forward as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah. And again, I suppose all that does is reinforces this amendment, which I lost the argument there, but this amendment's a waste of time, because that's the solution is exactly what you've talked about there, seeing the master plans. Because you could present this information and you could have whatever information you want in there, and if we presented a master plan that had 15 footy ovals for St John's, then people would say, oh gee, look, that parallel process is in play, even though it might not be reported there. So the answer is the master plan, in my opinion, and I want the community to engage with that process once we see the master plan. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate? All I'll have a say. I did vote for it. I feel more information is better than less. I understand what you're saying, Mr Mayor and Councillor Ivey. Yes, I have too felt like my integrity of being a councillor was questioned, but I do truly believe that we all feel like we're doing the right thing for the community. This is a pretty open, transparent consultation map that's drawn out here and that we've got. I do feel if there's a parallel line going on with St John's, I think this will pull it out, but if there's not one, then don't worry. All right. I've lost my step. Okay, all those in favour? All those against? I declare the motion carried. Oh, I'm out of whack. There are no more further items for consideration of the Culture and Community Committee, and I declare the meeting closed at the time being 6:20 p.m.
Okay, thank you, councillors. I now declare open the Corporate Services Committee meeting at 6:21 p.m. First item on the agenda is leave of absence. I have a leave of absence request from Councillors Wright, Burns and Mahon. Can I have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Any discussion or debate? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CC 22/36, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest? Councillor Goff.
Yes, for CSC 22/38, I am in the partnership program with my business, so I will leave the room when that comes up.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. No other conflicts of interest to declare, councillors? No. Next item is CSC 22/37, investment under Section 625 of the Local Government Act. Could I have someone move that recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CSC 22/38. Can I have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Goff. No, sorry, you've got to declare. Yeah, I know it seems a bit silly
No, that's all right.
a second ago, but you've got to declare and you've got to say.
Just declaring a conflict of interest due to being in the partnership program with my business.
So I think,
and I will leave them.
I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
It's a
that you just need to
procurmentally significant interest.
Thank you. That were the words I wasn't going to put in your mouth. Okay, thank you, councillors. CSE 22/38. I have a recommendation moved and seconded. Discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, Mr Wallace. Okay, thank you. There are no further items for consideration of the Corporate Services Committee. I declare the meeting closed at 6:23 p.m. Thank you, councillors.